Alright guys, so what we got going on today is a motor swap for I believe it's a 98 Honda Civic 4-door. The owner of the vehicle overheated the motor and possibly blew the head gasket, and he picked up a new motor for it. This motor that we pulled out was a Y8, so it had the VTEC, but it wasn't wired in properly anyways, so we ended up putting back the original motor that's supposed to be in the car, which is just the Y7, a non-VTEC. And yeah, so what we have to do first is actually get the vehicle up in the air and kind of get up there safely so we can work under it. Hope you guys are enjoying the elevator music. It's quite nice. Go, jacking up both sides. Trying to find a safe spot for the jack stands to go. Alright, almost looks like we found a spot, possibly. Oh. Yeah, there it is. That's the stuff right there. Alright, now it's safe to go under there. Oh, there's me getting locked out of the wagon there, that little bit. Grabbing the tools, getting ready for the swap. So first things first, I was taking the wheels off there, and Ben was taking off the exhaust manifold bolts. I think I was looking for the axle nut, or the socket for the axle nut, to be able to take that off so I could take the axles out. Possibly found it. Use my sock. Yeah. Okay. So I got the axle nut off. I'm pretty sure I'm working on the lower ball joint there. And I'm pretty sure that I was just taking out the two 10mm bolts that hold in, one or two 10mm bolts they hold in the slave cylinder for the clutch. Oh, part of the line. And then I was breaking the fuel line bolt out there. Yeah, that's definitely what that was. And Ben's working on the battery tray. Some of these battery trays, especially on the whole span of the 96 to 2000s Civics, whether it's a hatchback, coupe, sedan, they all have probably one of the worst setups for the battery trays. There's three 14mm bolts or 12mm bolts, and they just rust out. There's a pocket at the lower portion of the actual battery tray itself where the bolts are, and if any things from the under the car fly up under there, like salt or water gets in there and just sits, pretty much just rusts out, so it ends up becoming like no more of a bolt head, so it's really hard to get out. As you can see, he's got the pry bar in there. It's not something that we obviously wanted to do, but the last one I think I took out, I used a cold chisel and hammered the cold chisel right through the bolts because they just get stuck so bad. I also do recommend, if you guys do plan on doing one of these swaps, the most thing that can save you time, that can make or break your swap, if you're trying to do it in a day, don't even start on the motor. Literally go take the battery, disconnect the battery, take it out, and go straight for that battery box, because the reason why you need to get to that is so you can release the harness from the ECU, and then right under that battery tray there's also two 10mm bolts on studs that you also have to get off, that are usually pretty rusted, that you might have to use a cutoff wheel to cut off. I think in this case we did the same thing. But you need to get that harness out of the firewall so you can wrap it over the motor to pull the motor out, so you don't have to take the whole entire harness off the motor to drop the motor out. It's easier just disconnect from the ECU. But yeah, it's easier just to try getting that battery tray out ahead of time. And if you can't get that out, plan on doing the swap another day, or just definitely work on that, because that's something that's really time consuming. I'm pretty sure right there I was working on the brake booster line, taking the fuel return line off as well. But yeah, see, like Ben's really working on that, and it's definitely a pain. It's one of the worst things, the battery tray. That's literally almost one of the most difficult things of the swap. As long as you have the tools to do it, you're pretty much set, except for that thing. It's always totally random. Right there, I just took off the throttle cable. I just left it on the bracket and took the two 10mm bolts out. There, I finally got the brake booster hose off. And I don't know if you got it in this video, this clip, but I did take the power steering pump off. It was the two bolts that hold it on from the bracket, and just took it off that, and then just lifted the pulley out and put it to the side after you take the belt off. And let's see what else we had to do. I'm pretty sure I was under the car after this, getting the axles out. This I might have been working on the T-bracket bolt up top, or it could have been the starter. And before we did do this as well, we had to lift it up in the air, and I don't think we got the clip of us draining the fluids, but we did drain all the coolant and oil until it was done, and then we plugged the radiator up and the drain plug on the oil pan up, and it's a lot easier to just do it that way, drain it right away, so you're not waiting on it later on down the road when you really need to take off the radiator. Yeah, shaking the motor back and forth is a little bit easier to do that when you're trying to get that T-bracket bolt out. This one I'm pretty sure I showed the bolt, but it's really oxidized in there. I don't think it was the right bolt to begin with. It's supposed to be a 17, or I think it was a 19. So it was a little bit bigger of a bolt that actually went through it, so it kind of got caked up with that type of powder, oxidizing dust. I'm gonna try and spray some Zep on that bolt, get it out. I think Ben was, not sure if he was working on the starter. Oh, he might have been working on those 2 bolts for the bracket. Yeah, 2 bolts on the bracket to actually get that harness out. They're really rusted, so you just use the cutoff wheel to cut those studs off. Oh, so he did finish cutting those bolts off. I think he was unplugging the ECU to actually get that harness right through the firewall there. So this clip was basically us just swapping over the harness from the motor once the motor was out to the new motor, because the other motor came with a harness but it was cut. typically when you buy a motor from a junkyard or any place you get it from, they usually end up cutting it just to get it out of the car faster. So I always recommend, if you do a swap, use your existing harness. Don't ever use the harness that your new motor comes with, because typically you'll just run into issues where you can't start the car when you try to do a swap. And I'm trying to remember, I think, yeah, the new motor didn't come with a alternator, so we had to swap over the alternator as well. We had to take the transmission off and obviously put that transmission on the new motor. Right now we're actually aligning the clutch disc and plate to the new motor, so we can align the transmission up. Yeah, it's kind of hard to see. The GoPro's not the best at night, but and the light for the side of the house shut off, so can't remember when it clicked back on. Try walking around to get it turned on. Any day now. There it is. Let there be light. So we're just putting the bolts in on the transmission, getting that finished up. Pretty sure the harness is on there and complete. So we're just rolling the motor under the car there and getting her in position to lower the car down onto the motor. Going nice and slow to make sure that we don't crush any lines. We're trying to get the transmission side lined up with that motor mount there. And we'll see you in the next video. This was part 1 of the motor swap.